Oh my God, we brainstormed some insane characters. Just like the other day, was trying to think back to the first time we were throwing people up on the whiteboard. And I think Justin drew a giant grandma that was going to be the knitting lady. And she was just going to be a giant. And there was Triangle Man and Upside Down Triangle. Like, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Adult Swim talked to me and my partner Erica Rosby in fall 2020. So, just deep enough into the pandemic to be really miserable. And they basically, they were like, we really want to revisit these characters. Would you guys be willing to write up some shorts? And we were like, absolutely. Yes, please. I don't think so, just because on Rick and Morty, every character you're creating is 5-dimensional. So you're kind of always like approaching, any ancillary plot points or people like as if they had their own world. So it's like everybody has that potential. A lot of what was fun about writing Vindicators the first time around was like writing their demise. Very glad that Adult Swim had the idea to revisit them, because I don't know that like we would have just with how we ended their story. I mean, I think that writing that specific episode had a lot to do with how you feel about your work family and how those can end up being the people you're closest to and also the people making you the most miserable. So yeah, I think it's like it's a lot about how having a job, like being a superhero, consumes your identity, and then everybody you work with, they become the only other people who understand you, and how toxic that is. Oh yeah, it was really, I mean, there's like, everybody loves those movies, so it definitely comes from a place of, yeah, there's a lot of them, but there's also a lot to like there, which means there's a lot to rip apart. There's nothing more fun than like making fun of things that your friends like. I think the big thing that we didn't get to do in that episode, because that episode is, once they hit Rick's murder traps, that like we're off to the races. It's a sprint. So much is happening, and we get to hint to these backstories and like all of these things they've been through together and their relationships. But you're doing it like with a literal gun to all the characters' heads. So what was really, really fun to get to do in these shorts was to kind of take a breath and do like some smaller, quieter moments, and get to play with expectations, like with what we thought they were like without Rick and like what they're actually like without Rick. Because obviously in an episode of Rick and Morty, you have to see them with Rick. It's absolutely a prequel. Yeah, it's Vindicators 2. So it's like the movie between the movie they did with Rick and the one in the episode. And it's kind of the movie in between the movie of Vindicators 2 also, because it's shorts. I think anything can happen. I think that, Rick and Morty is like such a complicated show that if anything like that were to happen, it would have to be so careful. I definitely remember working on the show and going to the Rick and Morty wiki, because like, it's just every little thing gets captured. So yeah, I think seeing Rick and Morty back with the Vindicators at all, it would just, we'd be walking a tightrope, but it would be fun. I mean, I think it's Alan Rails. Yeah, it's like a tie between Million Ants and Alan Rails, but I think Alan Rails I have a special place in my heart for him, because he has one power. He has one thing he can do, and then he's hanging out with like a star and a guy made of ants. Another writer on the show, Gooderman, came up with him, and just like I remember as soon as it was said out loud, it was like, oh my God, why hasn't he existed before? Just being really tired. Like, I wish I had a better answer, but I remember having Final Draft up like on a big screen where we're typing, and it was just like Alan Rails, he can control ghost trains, and that was it. It was like very similar to like what happened with Pickle Rick. Like, what if Rick's a pickle? And then that was it. Like, that's the whole idea. I think that's one of the fun things about the Rick and Morty world in general, is that you just come up with something like really bizarre and absurd, and then you try to do the most grounded version of it and like really follow the logic through. And that's so much fun. I mean, what's fun about the digital platform with these is that you know, like you can consume them at your own pace, and that's always fun, and like they're always there when you want them. Like you don't have to wait for 2:45 in the 2:45 a.m. on Adult Swim. But yeah, they're so short. I don't think like commercial breaks would have been a huge issue because they're only like 2 to 3 minutes each. The worst thing would have been like a commercial break in the middle of a 2-minute short. Like that would have been infuriating. So I guess I am very glad that we don't have to deal with that. I think television is slowly dying and being replaced with streaming.